Hi friends, welcome back. It's time for more story time, and we have more Gus the Ghost today. So what is Gus gonna do? Gus is gonna go to school by Jane Thayer. Hey, look at, there he is on the back with Cora. How cute. So this is Gus Goes to School. One day Gus the Ghost said, "I've had lots of adventures. I think my ghost friends would like to read about them." He sat down at his ghostly typewriter and told Cora the cat and Mouse the mouse to be quiet. And he began, "I am a ghost." G-O-S-T. I don't think that's how you spell ghost. Then he wrote the story of his life and he sent it to a publisher. And the publisher sent it back with a note. "You have a very good story to tell. The trouble is you can't spell." Gus saw red circles around ghost and other words. "What's wrong with G-O-S-T?" he demanded. Mouse didn't know and didn't care. Cora said maybe it's spelled G-O-A-S-T, or maybe it's G-O-E-S-T, or maybe it's G-O-W-S-T. Gus looked up those spellings. "Not in the dictionary." "Well, I am a ghost, and I've got to find out how to spell ghost." "Go to school," Cora advised. Gus put on his best flowered sheet, he picked up his bang-clang equipment, and trudged off. He felt a little shy, so he asked Mouse to go too. Look at, there he is. Look, Mouse on top of his head. How funny is that? All ready to go to school. Mouse was delighted. He had heard about the delicious food in the school lunchroom from his mouse friends. Cora stayed at home to catch up on her sleep, and Gus went to first grade. He asked Mrs. Flower to teach how to spell ghost, but she couldn't hear ghostly language. He looked in books, but he couldn't find ghost. He sat down in a back chair and he clanged a small clank to cheer himself up. Miss Flower heard the small clank, and so she knew there was a ghost there. "We have a ghost in the class," she said. "That ghost will have to pay attention and do his homework like everyone else." There's Miss Flower. She gave the class words to learn, such as if, and but. Ghost is the only word I want to spell, Gus thought, and he didn't do his homework, and he didn't always pay attention. And the only things he liked about school was recess and lunchtime. At recess, he played ball with his ghostly ball, and sometimes he jumped rope. At lunchtime, he went to see Mouse in the lunchroom. Mouse was happy home under the sink, and 9 meals a day, with mashed potatoes on Monday. Promotion time came, and Miss Flower said the ghost hasn't done much homework, but maybe he's a most slow learner. I will promote him. Look at all those mashed potatoes. Goodness. Gus hoped that the second grade teacher, Mr. Hardy, wouldn't know he was there and give him work to do. So he laid his equipment down quietly. But Mouse came along, taking his exercise before lunch, and stubbed his tiny toe on a clanker, and it went clank. Now Mr. Hardy knew about Gus, and he told him to do his homework. And Gus didn't do his homework. All he wanted to spell was ghost. Why should he bother with such words as yesterday and today? And he began to be bored. And he hated school. And he hated Horrible Hardy. Finally, waiting to find out on how to spell ghost was spelled, he brought up some pranks to pass the time. Uh-oh. That doesn't sound good. First, he coaxed Mouse into Horrible Hardy's desk drawer, and Horrible opened the drawer, and out leapt Mouse, hungry for his mashed potatoes. Everyone screeched until Horrible roared, "Quiet!" And Gus liked the commotion. Then he took his bang-clank equipment and marched up and down the halls, banging like thunder and clanging like crazy. And he took a drink out of the water fountain and squirted water around. And then, just for fun, he rang the fire alarm, clang, all over the school. And the children marched out, and the teachers marched out, and Gus marched out. Uh-oh. Gus is being kind of naughty. Gus, what are you doing? The fire engines came, sirens screaming. This was more fun than spelling. Then the fire chief said, "False alarm, who did this?" Miss Flower and Mr. Hardy had heard the bang clanks in the hall, and they whispered, "That ghost." So then promotion time came. Horrible Hardy said, "That ghost doesn't do his work, and he is a horrible troublemaker. He can't go to third grade." "Oh no," Gus groaned. It never occurred to him he might not be promoted. He was terribly upset. Well, people will say ghosts are real dumb, he thought. My ghost friends will be ashamed of me. I haven't learned to spell ghost, and I have been horrible again. Goodness gracious, what is Gus doing? Well, I'll haunt him. He marched around Horrible Hardy, clanking and banging, but Horrible was used to noisy children, so he didn't mind noisy ghosts. I'll drop out of school, Gus threatened, but he knew he would never learn to spell ghost at home. Finally, he calmed down. He gritted his ghostly teeth and he thought, okay, if I have to do homework, I'll do homework. One thing I know, I'm going to be promoted next time. So he put his bang-clang equipment aside and settled down to do homework. Horrible Hardy gave out. To make sure he'd be promoted next time, he wrote the new words on the blackboard at night. After a while, he even wrote a sentence with his second grade words. Yesterday, I played ball. Look at that. What do you know? That ghost is learning to spell, Horrible Hardy said next morning. Gus was tired of being called the ghost. My name is Gus, he yelled, but no one could hear ghostly language. How can I tell them? Gus groaned. Then suddenly he knew. That night he wrote on the blackboard in large letters, my name is Gus. His name is Gus, the children said next morning. Hi, Gus. Gus was so delighted that he simply had to bang, and he was getting somewhere. Then he had an idea. What do you think Gus's idea could be? What is Gus up to? After school he wrote, who is Gus? He hoped that when the children read what he had written, they would write the answer, but they didn't. They just shouted, Gus is a ghost. His idea hadn't worked. What a disappointment. But after all, he thought, well, I'm close. What should I do now? And he began to think over all the words he had learned to spell. Which ones might help him? That night he went to the blackboard and he wrote some words, and he erased them, and he wrote some more, and then he erased those, and he wrote some more. Looks like they're trying to draw a picture of Gus. But that's not quite what Gus is looking for. Finally, he finished the sentence. Will some child in this class put down here what Gus is so I can read it? The next day, when Mr. Hardy read that Gus had written, he said, who can write ghost on the blackboard? And Gus held his breath. But the children couldn't spell ghost either. Ghost was a 6th grade word. Then Mr. Hardy said, we have a ghost in our class, so we should learn to spell ghost. Look at that. Gus looks a bit perplexed. He went to the blackboard and wrote, Gus is a ghost. And Gus sat there with his mouth open. He couldn't believe it. That's the way to spell ghost, he said at last, and he grabbed his equipment and jumped up and down, banging and clanking. He rushed to the lunchroom. I am a G-H-O-S-T, Mouse. Come home and we'll tell Cora. Mouse went right along munching milk cookies, so Gus ran home to tell Cora that he is a G-H-O-S-T. And he went back to school, and that afternoon he wrote on the blackboard, today I am a happy ghost, G-H-O-S-T. Gus learned how to spell. Now he loved school. He even loved Horrible Hardy, and he went on writing all the words he could think of. Mr. Hardy said Gus can go to 3rd grade. And in 3rd grade, he learned to spell teacher, and he wrote, I love my teacher. And he clanked his way to 4th grade and won a prize for a school called Mouse Was a Hungry Monster. And in 5th grade, his new favorite word was Halloween. And in 6th grade, he was the first one to write the word ghost on the board. Now Gus had finished the last grade in school. Look at that. He is so happy. But he didn't want to leave, so he wrote on the board, Dear teacher and children, I have decided to remain here for 40 years and be the school ghost. From love from your friendly ghost, Gus. And the teachers shook their head. Gus should go out into the world doing ghost work. How can we get him to go? Then they said, aha, we'll graduate him. And they laid out a graduation hat and gown, and Gus tried them on, and they were so becoming that he had to wear them. I'll invite Cora to my graduation, he thought, but what shall I do all day if I leave school? He's going to graduate. What will he do with himself? Then he remembered why he'd come to school in the first place, and he said to Mouse, you may stay and be the school mouse, and Cora may sleep all day. I shall be busy rewriting the story of my life. And he walked up the aisle with the graduating class and nodded politely to Cora and Mouse, who sat in the front row. And that lady looks a little bit worried, doesn't she? Oh, I can't turn to the last page, goodness sakes. And there it is, graduation day for Gus. Gus is a happy ghost. Well, thank you for joining me, and I hope you'll join me to hear more stories. And if there's any specific stories you'd like to hear me read, write the name of the book and the author in the comments, and I'll see if I find it or if I have it. And I hope that you have a really great day today.